Verney, you're back. Good to see you.
It's good to be back.
Did you enjoy Vegas and then Melbourne, was it?
It was mad. It was Vegas to LA to Melbourne to New Zealand, yeah. It's a good spin now, I have to say. Yeah. It's a bit weird coming back to this like 2 degrees weather.
We've been enjoying it now.
Yeah, say that alright. It's a good winter hurling weather though,
yeah, it sure has slogging. And any highlights from the trips?
Just Melbourne's unbelievable. See, Melbourne Cup, 80,000 people at it. Just carnage. It's like the Gala races times 10. And they do a parade the day before where the whole kind of city shuts down. It's kind of like the Fela parade, like times 1,000. It's class. It's very good, yeah. Anyone that's interested in the racing or that, I'd highly recommend it. I actually met a fella from Galway there, Pat Qualter's his name. Do you remember Seamus Qualter that managed Westmeath?
Yeah.
He died earlier on the year. Didn't he? Someone related to him die? Earlier on the year, one of them died anyway. This guy was related to them, and he was out there. This is how you celebrate your 50th birthday. So his 50th birthday year, he said he was going to celebrate it properly, so he went to a load of major sporting events throughout the year, capped off with the Melbourne Cup at the end of the year.
So instead of buying a Jaguar, he did this?
Exactly, yeah.
Not bad. Now, to be fair, you were dressed a bit like a 50-year-old at the Melbourne Cup with that blazer and that flowery shirt. It was a bit of a disgrace. And a head like Screech from Saved by the Bell. I don't know if you remember that.
Dustin Diamond. There's been varying reports in the Sue. Some people who I respect highly have said really like the Sue, fair play. Yeah. And a lot of Egypts like you and Pat Nolan have been having a pop.
I didn't see any thanks to Paul's in Kilkenny or something like that from the Sue. I expected it. I thought, we'll start off with the hurling because you've obviously missed loads of it. But the Leinster Club semi-final at the weekend, St Mullins beating Rathdowney Earl 217 to 119. Absolutely brilliant game, so exciting, start to finish. And it was James Doyle at the end. He scored 2 unreal points. So they were a point behind. He catches the ball out of midfield, and just a burst of pace out of him, sets off, throws it over the bar. A couple of minutes later, there's a bit of the ball is going all over the place. He ends up getting the ball, soloing into his hand, then tries to throw it back into his hand as a few lads are converging on him. Seems to almost slap the ball back up in the air. Goes, gets the ball, catches it, throws it over the bar. Amazing finish. But the thing was it 3 catches or was it 2? So I didn't get a chance to talk to a referee in the meantime to know if for sure, like if an attempted catch and knocking it back up, does that actually count?
To the best of my knowledge, doesn't count as a catch, no.
Yeah.
It actually has to go into your hand as well. But I saw your brother Paddy retweeting it or something like that, saying how great it was, and someone said that there was a number 10 free inside, and they said he should have passed it inside to number 10. So he passed it inside to number 10. But when they needed a go-to man, he was the man that stood up.
He scored 5, he scored 1 at the start of the second half, and I think at one stage they were down 1-8 to 1-4, I think, give or take from memory. And if the game finished off 217 to 119, that just tells you how much of a turnaround. And I actually thought that because of Mullins' size and power, that they were going to see the game out. But then I felt like, when I put that out in a WhatsApp group or two, then I felt like an Egypt when I was a point down going into
Yeah. It was, fair play to them as well, because there was so much around the Kula win and so much surrounding that.
The heart attack.
Everything. I think he was in hospital yesterday. Was he being released yesterday?
The talk is that he was in Dublin in the hospital and then he's to get an operation on Monday today. So
he'd be in good form for that. In fairness, wouldn't he?
He'd be singing.
Yeah,
you'd hope so.
In fairness to them, it's very hard. Can be hard to back up. When you beat a big team and the euphoria that surrounds it, sometimes it can be very hard to back it up.
I was injured, though, to be fair.
They certainly backed it up, in fairness to them. And it's massive for Carlow. People are always it's a token. Carlow are making great strides. Carlow are making unbelievable strides. And I know it's something that you want to talk about. The fact that they're not going to be in Leinster next year is it's a disaster, really. Well, because it stunts the growth, and they were very, very competitive at different stages. They got hit for a few goals with Kilkenny at different stages. But the fact that they're not going to be in the Leinster Championship next year it's a crying shame, really. And
I don't want to be called out for being hypocritical, because a year earlier I was one of the first to say that Offaly shouldn't be kept up because they had, they were a fair bit off the pace, and obviously we saw it then by getting relegated down to the Christie Ring for next year. But I do believe that in this case, that in general, I do think there should be 6 teams. I just didn't think the whole thing should be turned around for an Offaly team that was in a tailspin. This situation, I think, and Mullins adding to it, it would make sense to have both provincial championships with 6. Kerry would obviously have to agree to that, but at least have Leinster at 6.
Yeah, no, it would, yeah. And it also gives the chance that be it Carlow or Laois, that one of them is going to go down, fair enough, but one of them is going to get another a chance to play another year, and maybe another year, and maybe another, and maybe they're going to keep themselves there. And if they keep themselves there, you know, if you play against better teams consistently, you will get better. If you have, they've loads of talent. Like Mouse Kavanagh, who again I think was a disgrace he didn't get an All-Star nomination. He's class. He scores 4 or 5 for playing every game.
Yeah, he was very good against us. His frees were very good, both that day and yesterday. And also the goals came off him. Like he set up the first goal for. I just have to double check who scored that first goal. It was Paddy Boland solo up the middle. I think he had a chance earlier on, and he might have given the hand pass at the wrong time. Or I'm not 100% sure. There was another chance. And then when he got the ball himself for the second goal, it was like straight away ball in his hand, solo and towards the penalty area, and you were thinking the right man has it.
He's just ruthless. Yeah, you know he's going to score.
Going the other way, a word go Rathdowney Earl. Like they were a very, very big part of what was a very good game, and they'd spanked St. Rhinas, who of course beat G in the final. Rhinas aren't a bad team. They're getting spanked by Rathdowney Earl. They're obviously quite a good team, and a feature that I think we've probably seen with Laois was Paddy Purcell just so little time after time.
It's a stereotypical run down the middle. Once he gets the ball like that on the front foot and has a tackle broken, he's not going to be caught really by anybody.
Great goal. Mark Kavanagh, who knocked over a number of frees as well,
as he had 4 for play as well. Yeah.
Solos up the centre, and I thought that might cost Mullins eventually, the fact that they were getting soloed up the centre, but they did manage to.
They'll be sick as well, because it was a great opportunity for them to get to a Leinster final. Those sort of opportunities, like not being smart as well, they would have beaten the Offaly champions and the Carlow champions to get to a Leinster final. You know, it was a great opportunity. The more than I kind of was thinking about as well, the more than the Borris lads getting to the Munster final, it doesn't work like that. You could get a horrible quarter final draw next year. Do you know what I mean? So they'll be a bit sick that they didn't take the opportunity, but their manager was unbelievably magnanimous in the aftermath, in fairness, and totally paid tribute to James Doyle as well. But yeah, it was just a cracking game, and like people who have a go at the club championships or say that the club championships are bigged up for something that they're not. It's absolute like wallop, really. It really is. There's some unbelievable games.
It's everything from, if you're from that town, it's everything. Like, was Burr humming the week that you went into the
unbelievable, yeah.
You know,
it was even still humming the week after. But it was, yeah, and that was the talk of the town. It was the talk of the whole town. It was the talk of anyone with relations in Burr anywhere over the world. There was messages coming back, and it was just. Like, my brother lives in New Zealand, I was chatting to him about it. Like, it's just like your mood in New Zealand is affected by what's going on back in Burr, what's going on when the final is in Tullamore.
Yeah, sure. Just like we got knocked out by Mullins, and then I hear Borris Lee were after. Well, to be honest, like, the game was over, and obviously there was the situation with the selector having a heart attack. But like, and outside of all of that, you know, because you obviously can't do anything, I'm there checking the score, and I see Borris are up by 2, and then I see they're up by 4, and then I see it's back to 1, and you know, going, I'm delighted for them when they win. At the moment, all I'm getting from Borris Lee people is, right, what's your plan? Are you going down for the Munster final? And I'm like, well, I'm going to Liam Gallagher the day before. I'm going to have to get down in the morning. They're like, are you staying for the 2-day session? And like, this is obviously lads who aren't playing in the game. Everyone in the town was excited, and nothing else matters.
No, it's true. Yeah, just funny you say it. Just on that, like, there was a time we played with Offaly against Kilkenny. It just kind of links into what you were saying there about different things going on. We played Kilkenny in a relegate with the win to stay up in Division 1A or 1B in the league at the time. And I was involved in a horse who was running at 25 past 2, and the try-in for our match was at 1:30. And I totally forgot about the horse in the build-up to the match when we went out. But we went in at half time, whatever, and I looked over at one of the lads. I just thought it was the first time I talked with the horse since the match started, and he just went like that, giving a thumbs up like that, and we got relegated, or we lost the match, and the only way we could be relegated is if Wexford bet Tipperary. And we got word through the intercom after that Wexford were after beating Tipperary, and I was like, 1 hour after getting relegated, and then it was like, jeez, our horse after winning.
Was he a lovely horse?
He was a lovely horse, yeah. Actually, Jason Bourne got me rightly on Twitter last week, on the Irish Sun. I did different pieces about horse race and stuff like that, and a picture of a horse, and he said he was back to my lovely horse. And so they're trying to get away with actually being in love with the horse. But no, I just thought it was funny, like, it's mad the different kind of scenarios that are thrown up. Like the Borris Lee thing, you were after getting bet by Coola, and then you get word that something else is after, kind of. That definitely perks up your mood regardless, like, because you're happy for so many people, obviously including your brother.
Yeah, and as well, like, sure, even couple of the backroom team for Coola are from Tipperary, so they're saying to me,
yeah.
how you get that? Obviously they're devastated, but like I think everyone can realise that your brain is capable of more than two things.
And like people like you've been in college and I've been in college in different houses. We had a college.
You went to college?
Yeah, I actually did. Surprisingly, we had a college house one time where we all had a county final that year.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like
who else was in it?
Matt Root from Kilkenny, Paul Larkin, Summerhill, Stephen Lonergan from Burr, and there was someone else as well. There was someone else as well that was involved in the finals. And it's just like the amount of stock that's placed on it. Anybody that says like I just still can't get over that people would think that the club means more, like people are bigging it up to be more than it is. It really is everything. Lads putting their lives on hold for their club, really. Lads travelling to the country for their club, for their family, for people they know. That's what it's all about. The county game is 1% of the GA. And none of those lads would be playing county if it wasn't for the clubs.
Like, yeah, I have to ask the question, if you criticise it, do you know what it feels to be in that situation, either as a supporter, a club member, a player? Because, and you often hear the word journey, geez, it's been a great journey, or we're on a great journey. I think that was said by the Mullins management afterwards, and it was only like probably when we went on those runs with Coola that I fully realised the kind of the depth of that meaning to that.
And what it means to everybody involved.
But sure, even Mouse Kavanagh said there's just unbelievable spirit in the group, such heart and belief in each other. We got in a roll after the Carlow semi-final, that was Ballinkillen. We were dead and buried in the semi, and the last puck of the ball got us into it. From there on we gathered momentum. Look at where we are now. It's just the stuff of dreams.
I think, to be honest with you, after them giving Ballinkillen a reprieve, if ever a team deserved to get a bit of luck or get a bit of success after what they did, Ballinkillen were gone out of the Carlow Championship, and Mullins basically said we have to play them in this semi-final. There's no way over that fixture chaos, and fair play to them, they're getting the reward. So. And
the reward is a game against Ballyhale Shamrocks, who really paced at St Martin's of Wexford, 5-18 to 1-16. Ballyhale just seemed just ridiculous, like inter-county team playing at club level or somewhere in between. I think they beat pretty much any Joe McDonough team. Would that be fair to say? I'd say so, because what Joe McDonough team has Colin Fennelly at give or take full forward or maybe out to the side, TJ Reid, Michael Fennelly centre back. Like Michael Fennelly's probably better than half the players on the Offaly panel he's going to be managing. Isn't that kind of a nuts idea? It's like when Roy Keane took over Sunderland. He's going in and he's beating them around the training.
It's just phenomenal.
You know,
there's two Mullins playing. There's another a sub. Like it's they're kind of in a case where one lad steps up one day. It's like the great Kilkenny team. Eddie Brennan scores 1-5 one day. Maybe has a quiet day the next day. Owen Larkin steps up. Owen Larkin has a quiet day the next day. Someone else steps up. Martin Comfort. And that's the way they have it now. It's Owen Cody one day. It's Brian Cody another day. It's TJ Reid every day. It's Colin Fennelly another day. It's Adrian Mullen another day.
Yeah. Philip Lanigan, who did a piece with Martin's manager Charlie Carter, Kilkenny man, on Saturday. Now he was at the game and he tweeted, just a run-of-the-mill birthday for TJ Reid. Turned 32 and hit 214 to gift wrap a Leinster club final appearance for Ballyhale Shamrocks, and yet it was the teamwork of the All-Ireland champions that set them apart at Nolan Park. They'll take some stopping. He scores 214, which is 20 points. St Martin scored 116, which is 19 points.
And it was 112 from place balls. He doesn't really miss.
12 points from 112.
He just doesn't miss in general.
Well, he missed the penalty, so I can confirm he missed.
Okay, in general he doesn't. His accuracy, and it's just that he's always the go-to man as well. Like if you're in trouble, just horse most puckouts down on top of him.
Even like the 13 men Kilkenny against Galway, and they were lumping ball upfield and he was snapping for.
And when you have somebody good, like it's one thing horsing ball down on top of a really good lad, and the other team being able to put 2 or 3 on him. But sure, if you leave Adrian Mullen free, if you give a yard to Colin Fennelly, if you give a yard to Brian Cody, Owen Cody, any of these lads to do damage, they're going to be seriously hard bet. The only thing is, Mullins will go in as no hopers in most people's eyes, particularly based on that result for Ballyhale. So they've nothing to lose really, but they're just going to have to. I don't know what they're going to do to train.
I don't believe in that whole idea of there's nothing to lose. If you take a pasting in a game like this, I think that does set you back a big way, because Mullins would like to win the game, obviously, much like Oulart did back in 2012 or 13, whichever year it was. But much like Mount Leinster Rangers did against Oulart. But I think if you go in here and lose this by 20 points, that's quite damaging, because you come back the next year and you're like, how are we going to bridge 20 points? If you're competitive and take it down to either win the game, obviously, or take it down to the last 10 minutes, you've got a lot to build on, a lot of momentum to push players on for next year. So I think there's this could end up being a 15-point win for Ballyhale. I don't think that's beyond the realms.
And it could be very competitive and still be a 15-point defeat. Yeah.
That's the thing, because they have those guys who can, like, I know Mouse Kavanagh and James Doyle and all these guys are very good on one side of the field, but like TJ Reid is going to go down as one of the all-time greats. Michael Fennelly's a hurler of the year. Joey Hold's an All-Ireland winning captain and all-star. Adrian Mullins is going to be absolutely brilliant for years to come. Ended up behind the bar in the Brogan's pub down in Kilkenny later on the night. It always seems to be a bit of crack with Adrian Mullins. No, I interviewed him during the summer, which you can see on the playlist there somewhere, and he was quiet as a lamb, but by God, I think when you get him away from the camera, he's a bit of a bio.
And just on Ballyhale as well, like Rory, they managed, like, they have this thing as well. We talked about Mouse Kavanagh and James Doyle. Like Rory O'Connor was very quiet the other day, a point. They managed to keep the opposition players very, very quiet as well. I think the Leinster final as well. Offaly are supposed to be playing Kildare on the 1st of December, and I think that's going to have to be brought forward to the 30th of November because Mick Fennelly is playing in the Leinster final. Like, I just was thinking about it, and we must go into it a bit more. Like, his schedule at the moment must be ridiculous. Between work, lecturing, managing Offaly and getting things moving there, and all the time that takes, and then being a player and being captain of the best club team in the country at the moment.
Management is a full-time gig, especially in the
so.
county level. And now, as much and all as people will just assume that Offaly will kick on and win the Christy Ring Cup, no problem, there is pressure with it, and
big time,
getting everyone on board, and like, there's so much to it. The Leinster Intermediate semi-finals were on at the weekend, and what we're going to end up with is Tullaroan against Sir Kieran in the Leinster final, which is kind of brilliant. Obviously, Tommy Walsh's Tullaroan beat Naas 3-17 to 113. Martin Keown, people would have seen on the Kilkenny team in the past couple of years, not so much in 2019.
No, not so much last year.
He got a couple of goals. At the other end, Sir Kieran 113 to 13 points over Bray Emmets. I thought they'd actually win that by a little bit more. Joe Dooley was tweeting afterwards, well done to my own club, and a hard fought win against Bray Emmets today. Looking forward to that Leinster final against Tullaroan.
Now they were not lucky to get through it, but they were down 10 points to 1-3 at half time. Joe Bergen got a goal nearly straight away, but Bray were literally, they're a really fast mobile team, and they ran at Sir Kieran every chance they got, by all accounts, from chatting to people that were there. And Christy Morehouse put over a load of frees for Bray, and they were kind of in control. But in the second half, the Clarine players that you'd expect to stand up, the Joe Bergens, the Adrian Hines, the James Mulrooney and these boys, they really stood up in the second half. And now I kind of think they're going into the Leinster final as the Sir Kieran Twitter page put up the first Leinster final in their 129-year history. Like, you telling me that doesn't mean that to them? But it's mad. They go into the Leinster final in a good position. Like Tullaroan, from a betting point of view, Tullaroan will probably be 1-6, 1-7 favourites to win that match. They'll be expected to not the coast on, but they'll definitely be expected to win.
Well, the two Tommy Walshes at either square, as in the legendary Tommy Walsh playing full forward, the other Tommy Walsh we've seen on the Kilkenny team full back, and then Pádraig Walsh,
Shane Walsh as well,
Shane Walsh. Like, there's such
and Martin Keown as well, But Sir Kieran are a good side. Sir Kieran were in an Offaly senior semi-final in 2017.
Yeah, like I spoke with Joe Troy, who works down in that neck of the woods, and he was saying that if all was all, that they should be very, very competitive and pushing hard in Offaly. Like, are they a semi-final quality team with the players they have?
Without a doubt. And the funny thing is, they're on a run now. They're actually going into next year's senior championship, which is an 8-team championship, in a really good position. You know, they're going in, if they were to win a Leinster title or win an All-Ireland intermediate, would say, you're going in an unbelievable position going into senior with loads of momentum. Dan Hackett took them over this year. John Carroll was over them the year before, and it was a topsy-turvy kind of year when they got relegated. But Dan Hackett was over them this year. An interesting story as well, Hughie Hannon, who used to manage Tullaroan, is a trainer with Sir Kieran as well. Right. So he'll have the inside kind of scoop into their squad, It's going to be an interesting final. Unbelievable, But it's going to be an interesting final. Definitely not a foregone conclusion for Tullaroan.
Foregone conclusion, the name of David Brent's band in The Office. I was only watching Life on the Road, the name of the film that he made afterwards, the kind of tag-on movie, but there you go. Ballygarrett beat Cullion of Westmeath, Ballygarrett of Wexford in the junior semi-final, 420 to 113, so that was obviously very comfortable. And then Connacht Shamrocks of Kilkenny beat Clongish Gales of Longford, 122 to 07. Paul Barden would still be playing there. Paddy Cullum, the Longford football goalkeeper, I think he played a league promotion clash on Friday night with Father Manning Gales, which they lost to Longford Slashers. Saturday then he was involved with this team with Clongish Gales, or maybe it was Sunday, and then also there was a challenge match with the Longford footballers in there. So busy enough weekend for Paddy.
That'll be a decent final as well. If you go back through the history books since the intermediate and junior club championships were introduced, like the amount of Kilkenny teams that have won the junior and intermediate is
It makes sense when they have the 12-12 sort of system, that they don't have 30 teams up senior.
Very true.
But there is a lot of depth there, and I wonder, is that a lot of the reason? Because the first 12 going to be fairly even. They're all battering each other. The next 12, they're all at a nice competitive level, whereby the very best is going up. Not having. Yeah. It's not like the 30th team playing the first team. You keep getting battered.
Very true. Yeah.
Like, how do you get a team to be like, come on, next year now we'll bridge that
40
gap?
Yeah.
The junior hurling quarterfinals in Munster. Russell Rovers beat Kilgarvan 221 to 111. Luke Murray scored both goals there, and St Mary's of Waterford 310. Castletown Ballyagran 14 points. So Tomas McCarthy from Watford tweeted, first Munster Championship win for St Mary's. Owen Kearns scored 1-6 in a game that featured 10 yellows and 3 reds. So tasty enough there.
10 yellows, geez, yeah, okay.
The Connacht intermediate final. So this is a big one now. I was watching it. I did a piece with Fergal Boland, the Mayo footballer, leading into this.
Do you know how he got his start in the Mayo senior football panel?
Huh.
Mayo under 21 panel. He wasn't on the Mayo under 21 panel, and the manager at the time, I can't remember who it was, got the players to. He asked the players, "Is there anyone not on the panel that you think should be on the panel?" And they had to put their suggestions into a box, and Fergal Boland's name came up a lot of times. So he called into the under 21 panel and ended up on the senior panel.
Ah, brilliant! So Turin beat Kinvara of Galway 21 points to 210. And that's Turin's second Connacht title in 3 seasons, which is great going for a Mayo club, because everyone. Yeah. But the thing about, and I spoke about last week on the pod, is that Turin is a massive hurling.
There is, yeah.
Like 300 to 400 people in the parish, and all they do is hurl.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have football teams. Only 4 or 5 of them go playing with Ahamore. And then obviously Ballyhonus is a hen's kick up the road.
Ballyhonus.
Hammering the heads off each other for years, playing in Castlebar Mitchells that we've talked about, some strides. So Conor Whelan was on the freeze, and I was watching back Buff Egan's videos of it. Very, the way sometimes you're like, I can't believe he actually takes freeze for his club, because I couldn't have imagined.
Yeah, what was it like actually? Yeah,
he was pretty good. Smooth. No, Buff said
awkward kind of a style. Did he take him? Did he take him right sided?
No, across himself. So he lifted across himself. But it just looked unusual seeing it. Now Buff said at one stage that he missed a couple that he might have scored. Now with 21 points to 210, there's 5 in it. So there is a huge momentum shift at times. If a game could be brought back to a point or something like that, it does shift everything.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure because I didn't see the match, but Conor Whelan and Carl Curtin scored the goals for Kinvara, who have Colin Callan, the former Galway goalie. He scored a point from midfield. Shane Kavanagh's in on that team. The other people who played well for Turin are Shane Boland and Kenny Feeney. They lost to Ballyragged a couple of years ago when they got to the All-Ireland semi-final.
That's right, yeah.
So we'll see if they can kick on. That'll be something else now if a Mayo team managed to
be deadly. Yeah, no, it'll be class. And like Kenny Feeney's been knocking around the scene. Like, God, I don't know how many years. Donkey's years is right. Yeah, it's a great reward for those kind of boys too. But like you're right, Turin is a massive hurling area. That's hurling, like as you say, that's hurling like. Hurling here, football is down here. Like.
Burst every football in the place according to them. And then the
Fergal Boland still plays dual with Mayo when he can as well. Like.
No, he actually hasn't played football or hurling for a while now because he reckoned that when he got in there he had to give it a full bash.
I thought he definitely played 2 years ago. Played 17.
He has. He just hasn't played for a couple of years since he got called in.
So Keith Higgins won a league title with Mayo in 2018.
Well, I kind of thought at the time when he was gone away playing up until the championship with the Mayo hurlers, I kind of thought writing is on the wall for Mayo footballers this year.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously it's not all down to Keith Higgins, of course, but if you feel like you're going to finally bridge that gap of history with the Mayo footballers, much and all as you love hurling, I'm not 100% sure if you would go and play it, but
there was a bit more mitigating circumstances.
Yeah, and obviously it doesn't all fall at Keith Higgins.
No, there was definitely mitigating circumstances.
Yeah, and
he really wanted to go back and win a hurling title.
Yeah. Which is an
illness in his family and things like that. But he wanted to go back and win a title.
And certainly that's not kind of a criticism in any way, shape or form. Just kind of talking and thinking out loud, really. And definitely, like, that guy's delivered so much for Mayo footballers and hurlers, of course, that you couldn't criticise him. The Ulster Intermediate hurling final, then Owen Rua of Tyrone and Naomh Éanna of Antrim, who are also called St Enda's Glengormley. Game went to penalties. It was 2:20 each after extra time, and Naomh Éanna won 1-0 on penalties.
I was sure I read that wrong when I saw it.
Well, I went and I checked the Twitter account of one of the clubs, and they showed, like, the way you have a tick or an X based on whether it's scored or missed. So the first penalty was scored by Captain Cormac Ross. So there was a green tick for that. and then there was like 4 X's after it and 5 X's for for Owen Rua. Sambo McNaughton is the manager of Nevena.
It's mad, isn't
Some
it?
going.
Yeah,
That's their first ever intermediate hurling crown. And Antrim GA tweeted out a picture of Sambo holding the cup saying, "You can't beat class." Just a couple of other tweets. Brendan McTaggart, incredible game at Celtic Park today. So much to take in, yet it'll be remembered for the penalties at the end. Well done to Nevena, and commiserations to a superb Owen Rua side. 2 teams who deserved another day. It was no way to decide an Ulster final.
Just on that, I would definitely... I don't disagree with penalties and on the day results, but when your next game is in January, I don't see why there wasn't a replay, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's true. Like,
there's no mad panic. What are we, mid-November? There is no mad panic on that. If they're playing next week, it's totally different. I understand why you need on the day results.
So is it a situation whereby you obviously have the rules that are written into the GA official rule guide, and then you have certain clauses whereby if it's a provincial final and there are 6 weeks till the next game, in that situation, or whatever number of weeks, that therefore you can put in a replay.
But again, this is a common sense clause. This is a common sense clause.
We'll have none of that
common sense
here.
will not come into the equation. No way.
It's of no value whatsoever. The Ulster Club Junior final then in Dungannon, Owen Rua of Derry beat Newry Shamrocks 116 to 11 points. And then just looking at the Leinster Camogie results. So in senior Leinster Camogie final, St Vincent's of Dublin 10 points, St Martin's of Wexford 10 points. So the replay is down for next Sunday.
And just on like Wexford, the Wexford club camogie scene is really, really strong. And it just doesn't seem to be translating towards the county team at the moment, who are really, really struggling. So it's funny, like, you have Martins are always there or thereabouts.
They've had some serious strife, haven't they, there in the last year or two?
Oulart are always there or thereabouts as well. Like, and you've got a lot of strength. It's just funny that, well, it's not funny, but it's just strange that it's not translating over towards the county team. I know that a lot of big players, Ursula Jacob, Kate Kelly and all these retired, but like, this clearly still have an awful lot of talent there, but just doesn't seem to be translating towards the county team. They've had, like, it's just been chaos the last year, really, you know what I mean?
The intermediate final then, St Rina's getting a little bit of justice for Offaly club teams in the Leinster Championship against Laois teams. As I mentioned, St Rina's got battered by Rathdowney Earl. St Rina's 423, Cam Ross 4 points, Kate Kenny with 3-5 of theirs as they retain the title.
Yeah, like, Kate Kenny's a bit of a phenomenon, to be honest with you. She scored 110 for Nave Kieran, which is basically like for Ban and Belmont, as they won the ladies intermediate title and are now in the All-Ireland intermediate title. She just turned 18 last week. She was voted Camogie Player of the Year and Football Player of the Year in 2018. She might get them again in 2019, and I haven't actually seen her playing football. I've seen her playing camogie, and she's just phenomenal. She was kept very, very quiet for, say, 45 minutes in the county final. And it's not one of these cases of a player who maybe relies on a lot of pace. She is quite fast, but like her wrists are savage. Like, she gets the ball in her hand. She does want to go at you, but she can just take a step back and just take a score from her as well. She's class. It's a name that you're going to be hearing for a long, long time. She plays midfield for Nave Kieran, so she's going for All-Irelands with 2 different teams over the next couple of weeks and months, hopefully. Like, it's fair effort. Her and Roisin Egan, that basically there's no camogie team in for Ban or Belmont, so if anyone wants to play, there wouldn't be a great tradition in playing, but they would go and play with Banner. The 2 of them would go and play with Banner. So it's just kind of a mad kind of thing. She played a Leinster camogie semi-final at 12 o'clock a couple of weeks ago, and then went and played intermediate Leinster football final at 5 o'clock the same day.
She scored a teenager, doesn't it?
She scored 110. Yeah, you wouldn't be tired. Imagine me and you trying to do that now. We won't move for about 3 weeks after.
Come on for the last 5 minutes of this.
The warm-up case now is like, you have to warm up for about an hour to be ready for 5 minutes.
But you don't like to do too much of an exhaustive warm-up. I remember when the first year Matty Kenny came in with Kula, and I was probably 32 or something like that. Maybe
number 32.
No, I was wing back. I remember one day we were going out to do a warm-up, and I was absolutely wrecked before the match started, and I had to call over to him, before the next match and say, look, I know you like to go in heavy on the warm-up, but I'm going for the first ball when the ball has been thrown in, and I'm hardly able to wag.
Yeah. So it's a fair point though, and we had Simon Whelan was involved with us this year, and because he'd be older and just finished, he would have known himself from playing. He just said, lads, don't kill yourselves in the warm-up, particularly the older boys. Like, you want to be ready for the first ball. It's grand for the young fellas, they can go and do it all and still run for 90 minutes or whatever they have to run for. But the older fellas, like, it would get you in the last 10 or 15 minutes if your warm-up is too hard, and I always think it's gas. old fellas that matches during the summer when it's roasting or that, just they were out doing a warm up for an hour and they weren't able to fart when they were out in the field. But like, there's a fair point. When you hit 20, when you're at 29, 32, 33, that kind of age, like a warm up can really catch you.
Yeah,
really
it has to be like
too
that.
much.
If you want to do something exhaustive, I think do that part pretty quick. Like, obviously you have to do your right stretches and all that, but I'd like that at least 10 minutes before the game starts, so you've time to recuperate. And if it's a case of getting your second win, that you've time to, go again. Right, so a couple of other results coming in. So there's a tweet from St. Nick's GA in Bristol. St. Nick's, the inaugural Joe O'Rourke All-Britain Shield winners. We beat Casemans 3-8-2-7. Deserved reward for the effort put in by the squad all year. Thanks to Glen Rovers for use of the fine pitch and referee on short notice. # Nick's a boo.
That's a great name, St. Nick's.
Yeah.
It's great, especially coming up to Christmas.
I see a tweet from Pat Nolan about the games that were going on in...
Pat's a big fan of the Super 11s.
Yeah. So he goes... he basically kind of looking at the stances from the GA/GPA. Let's push this gimmicky version of hurling in America in a hopeless attempt to grow the game overseas. Also GA/GPA. Let's take a sledgehammer to the Champion 15 scheme, which is supposed to develop the game in Ireland. That's obviously for the teams playing at the lower tiers in hurling. Any thoughts on it? I barely paid any attention. I didn't
really know what was going on.
To be honest, it passed me by. I saw one of the scores, Kilkenny 64, Limerick 40, and I was looking at Billy Ryan scored 18, and Alan Murphy scored 24, and I had to think, wait, now how did I score that again? And you said to me, sure, it's 3 points for a goal.
Yeah,
I was like, of course, and there's no points. But yeah, it doesn't do it for me.
3 points or 6 points? I'm actually confused.
No one knows.
Yeah, I'm actually confused. And I was over there 2 years ago, and I was working with the GPA forward. That was in Boston, in Fenway, and it was pretty cool. There was, the guts of about 25,000 at it, but the crowds last year, I think there was 11,000 in Fenway, and it like City Field looked. Is it City Field? Is that what it's called?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
It looked relatively empty from what I saw yesterday. Again, it's an awkward one for county teams. They don't want to be embarrassed going over there, so they have to do a bit for it.
Yeah, they're pulling together panels. Yeah. So like I heard anecdotally about, like trying to scratch together teams because lads didn't necessarily, like for example, all the teams that are still involved with their club, they're not going to be sending out players. And I didn't want to talk about it, but I did hear rumblings of one club that was still involved in their championship was coming into a big game, yet the Wexford panel are pulling out of them saying, look, will you come over anyway, in a sort of a situation where play your game and then straight away fly out afterwards, and their team can still be in the competition. I don't want to say who, because I'm not 100% on it. But even if it didn't happen, this is the sort of situation that you might end up with.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, and of course, like the sponsor is obviously paying for this, so I mean, it's their right to do what they want, and if the teams are happy to do it, go ahead.
The teams are definitely going to be happy to do it. Without being smart, if you're a player involved with that, you are lapping that up. You're getting to go to New York, you're getting to play in a ground that you would never thought humanly possible unless you were... Is that an American football ground, is it? Or is it a baseball ground?
I actually don't know.
It's unbelievable. Like that for them, like players are definitely like... and we're players, I would definitely not be complaining about that. But from the perspective of developing weaker counties, I saw Colin Bonner did something last week where he said the Joe McDonagh finalists, they'd love to go over, and that would be a big statement to send, in inverted commas, weaker counties out, because they would benefit an awful lot more from it. Particularly if the attendance is not, like, if the attendance, we'll just say the attendance was 11,000, I think, in Fenway last year. If the attendance is not your big thing, you're not trying to fill out the place, then send over some of the weaker counties. They're going to get more out of it.
But they do want to make it look as sexy as possible by giving it to big teams. What's the coolest stadium you ever played in?
Coolest stadium?
Well, like that could even be in Ireland. Like the athletics ground in Armagh comes to mind for me because it's just so tight. And
you played Stockneal there, wasn't it?
Yeah, semi-final. That was class.
Coolest ground. We played Dunline in the semi-final in Clonus. And I never thought I'd play in Clonus. Like.
Do you know there was the first ever All-Ireland quarter-final in the hurling championship in '97 was between Tip and Down.
That's right, that's right.
And that place to have it, because I went up there for an Ulster football final a couple of years ago, and I was thinking how low the posts were. So if any sort of a shot was hit,
it is a bit mad. It's a football ground, yeah. Those sort of grounds where you never thought you'd play, and even like Parky Queeve, I probably never thought I'd play down there, even though I got absolutely scotched alive down there. Those sort of places, I can't think of playing anything. I don't know.
But you know what's coming to mind now? When I was over in New York in 2010, hurling for the summer, we were out in Central Park pucking away, and some lad comes up to me. You know, there's obviously people looking at you going, what is this? And basically what they're trying to do now, going over, spread the word. But looking at me going, hey buddy, what's that paddle?
That's a peddling.
That it for the hurling chat?
Yeah, there'll be loads more over the coming weeks. Provincial finals coming up, so it's an exciting time.
Yeah, Borsley against Ballygunner, handy win there, obviously. Yeah,
but they'll be.
I'll have to build up the opposition.
They'll be expected to.
And Borsley give right account of themselves.
Hopefully so.
I hope anyway, for sure. But we'll talk about that more later in the week. If there's anything we missed for the weekend, send it in to @MLVerney, @ShaneSaint, and we'll talk about it on the show. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube.
Just like that went on ages.